Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica, and my story is about how I got betrayed by my hero, my father. Do you have an idol that you've always looked up to? Well, mine used to be my dad. You know, he was my role model, and I never thought he'd let me down. Actually, the main thing I was crazy about as a child was my father's profession. He was a lawyer, and my dream was to become one too. He was also involved in charity work and was constantly speaking about it. Lots of people in our town knew that he helped our local nursing home. Do you see it now? My dad was like a Superman or Robin Hood. He represented justice and power. Can you imagine how proud I was when other children asked me about my father's job? Every time I asked my father why he liked his job, he said that making people happy gives meaning to his life. I was dying to see how his job was like. And after a lot of nagging, my dad agreed to take me to the nursing home he does charity in. I was amazed to see how much my father's help meant to those people who were alone in this big world. It seemed to me that everyone knew him personally. People welcomed him and even hugged him. All the grannies told me things like, "You're lucky to have such a dad." That day, I wanted to be like him more than anything. Due to my curiosity, I tried to study law on my own. I always looked through my father's books, hoping I'd learn something. But most of it was really complicated. Plus, my father got really mad when he saw me going through his stuff. But I couldn't help it. One time, I was interested to learn more about his charity work. He was just a stickler for paperwork. Everything was in its place, so it wasn't hard to find what I needed. I just took a file folder named Nursing Home and started reading a random paper from it. I just couldn't believe my eyes. The first thing I thought was, "You gotta be kidding me. Please, someone tell me what on earth is going on here." I checked other papers with trembling hands, hoping that was a mistake. Some misunderstanding. Oh crap, it wasn't. I was shocked to discover that my father was hiding a big secret. When my father got home, I was totally out of control. He wondered why I was acting strange. I showed him the reason. The thing was that relatives of elderly people asked him to draft their wills so they could get all the money. And of course, the poor elderly just signed and had no clue what they were doing. And my dad got a fat cut out of it. His percentage for such a dirty job was quite a sum. That was the moment when I expected my father to confess, repent, or I don't know, maybe burst into tears. I didn't think that day had more unpleasant surprises. But Dad started shouting at me. He said I didn't know what life really was, that I was naive and wore rose-colored glasses. "I just took what was mine, a tiny piece. Oh man, do you think I'm the only fraud in this town? Every judge, every lawyer, and prosecutor is just another fraud." Boom! At that very moment, my ideal image was destroyed. Can you just imagine how terrible I felt? Everything I built my dreams on was a lie. I wanted to shout, break everything I saw around me. I was lost. I felt betrayed. I came up to my mother and I told her everything. I was so upset that I wanted to report my own dad. That was my last hope. And I thought she would figure out a way to help me. But her words just killed me. I was aware. Wait, what? Another betrayal? I was just shocked and couldn't get my breath back. I asked her if they were kind of accomplices and how long that had been going on. She just got down on her knees and begged me not to call the police. "Jessica, you must understand that your dad did it to earn for the family. Worse things happen, believe me. He didn't kill anyone. It's only money, you know." I couldn't listen to it anymore. My family was a bunch of liars, and I needed to let off steam, so I locked myself in my room. 2 weeks passed. I still felt terrible. I was avoiding my parents in my own house. I couldn't talk to them or even look them in the eyes. Until one day, I heard a knock on the door. Then I heard my dad and some unfamiliar female voice. I went to the door, and I saw a skinny woman. Her eyes were red in tears. She begged my father to help her. I decided to stay and listen. She said that she was financially dependent on her father. She had no doubt he would leave her all his money, but something really strange happened. It was written in the will that all the savings would go to her uncle. It didn't make any sense. She knew my dad was the lawyer who did the will, and she came to ask for his help. My dad said she was insane and asked her to go away. "But I live on the streets now. Please help me. If you don't want to help me, help my little children. They can't even go to school now. We're just beggars." She caught hold of my dad's hands, falling on her knees. But everything he did was pushing her away. "If you don't get out of here, I'll call the police." Still, she wouldn't go away. She just repeated, "Please, I'm begging, please." Anyone would pity her, but not my dad. He really called the police. When they came, the woman was very frightened. She said she didn't mean any harm and wasn't guilty. She just wanted to find some help. My heart was racing when I looked at my father's eyes. Oh man, he felt absolutely nothing. He was so calm. That was the last straw. I couldn't bear it. I broke down. "Officer, this man is who you should arrest, not this poor woman. She didn't do anything wrong." The officer was surprised and couldn't understand what was going on. "Please take me to the police station so I can tell you everything. This man is my father, and he's a fraud. I have proof." My father looked at me shocked. It was a look that I'll never forget. But my will to stop him at his place was stronger than anything. They took my father, and I went with them to submit my testimony. I told them everything I know. It was one of the most challenging moments of my life. It took me time to comprehend that I was putting my own father in prison. After long hours at the police station, the officers told me I can go home. They opened an investigation, and my father was held there. When I went back home, my mother was sobbing. She was very upset with me. She claimed that I betrayed our family, and she didn't want to talk to me. She called me very hurtful words like ungrateful child and selfish teenager. She even called me stupid. I can't deny that her words hurt my feelings, but I was convinced that I made the right decision. I couldn't accept the person my dad is. I can't be a witness of injustice and remain silent. Ironically, this is what he taught me as a child. Everything was my father's fault, and he had to pay for it. My father was sentenced for 7 years in jail. It is a very difficult phase for my family. People in my town are talking badly about my dad and how he deceived all of them. I don't blame them. I wanted to visit him, but was scared. A week ago, just 2 months after he's been imprisoned, I gathered my courage and visited him. Seeing him that way broke my heart. I had tears in my eyes the whole time I sat there looking at him. What shocked me the most was my dad's words. At first, he apologized, which caused me to believe that he regretted his actions. But as he kept talking, everything he said revolved around disappointing us and how he failed as a husband and a father. He said that he never cared about anything but us. But I was confused. "What about the other families?" I asked. "The people you deceived have families they love, Dad." He said nothing. I was disappointed even more. My philanthropist hero was nothing like I imagined. It broke my heart. But I guess it made me realize that some people never change. So yes, I am the girl who sent her own father to jail. I don't know what you think of me, but regardless of everything, I still have no doubt I've done the right thing. I still want to become a lawyer someday, because I'm motivated to achieve justice, no matter what.
Hi, my name is Alexa, and I discovered what my brother's girlfriend was really up to the whole time she was with him. You're probably wondering what that has to do with me. Well, let's just say that I was the reason she stabbed him in the back. The beginning of this story is a little awkward. It all started with my own insecurity. You see, I'm 17 and I've never been in a relationship with someone like ever. The guys who usually ask me out were losers, so I just turned them down one after the other. However, one day, something changed. Someone actually caught my attention big time, but I didn't know who it was. It all began when I started to receive these love letters. I thought a lot about who it could be. I was eager to know, especially because I was kind of falling for this person. You must think that this all sounds like the beginning of a beautiful love story. Well, I was naive enough to think so too, because the truth is that when I discovered the identity of the person I was falling for, I wanted to disappear off the face of the earth. So all this chaos started when someone began to slip blue love letters into my bag at school. I knew they were for me because at the end of each letter, my name was always surrounded with red heart-shaped symbols. I couldn't help but picture who it could be and who I wanted it to be. I secretly hoped it was Mark, a cute boy in my class and one of my brother's close friends. Anyway, I'm in the 11th grade with my twin brother Alex. We go to the same school, we're in the same class, so I'm pretty much stuck with him forever. And I'm kidding though. The truth is that I love him very much and I don't know what I would do without him. A few months ago, Alex started dating Mary, a girl he had a crush on for ages. He asked her out and she said yes. She was very beautiful and way out of my brother's league. I had no clue how she even agreed to date him. Anyway, Mary and I became close friends after she started seeing my brother. She came to our house a lot, and when they went out, she was always kind enough to invite me along. But, I hated to be the third wheel, so I usually said no. I didn't feel that lonely, though, because I was receiving the best love letters every single week. I remember the first letter well. It was blue and had Alexa boldly written on it. It read, "Reading this letter, you might be wondering what's wrong with me. Why I'm writing a letter to you. I wanted to tell you these words, but since I am unable to now, I am happy I can at least express it through my words. I love you." Anyone looking at me at that exact moment when I was reading the letter would probably have been wondering why I was grinning from ear to ear. I couldn't help it. I was deliriously happy. I read the letter more than 10 times until I could recite every word written on it without looking at it. From that day onwards, I started to get more blue letters, one each week. The way he wrote was pretty amazing. I felt like I was really falling for him and like I had butterflies in my stomach. I was writing letters back to him and leaving them each time in the place he asked me to. Most importantly, I wasn't shy about spilling my feelings. I had strong feelings for him and I expressed them in my letters. Of course, I asked him to reveal his identity, but he wrote that he was hesitant because he was close to my brother and he felt that I was going to reject him because of it. This only confirmed my suspicions. It had to be Mark, my brother's close friend. I used to notice him staring at me in class, but now the whole picture was becoming clear. I wrote back in the letter, "I don't care if you're close to my brother. Knowing who you are will mean the world to me." 2 days passed since I wrote that message, and I never got a response back. I thought that Mark had chickened out on me because he didn't want to involve my brother. I was sitting in the living room feeling pretty sad when my brother and Mary were about to go out. They noticed that I was upset, but I refused to tell them what was going on. Mary then insisted I should go with them, so I'd cheer up a bit. I'd already told them a million times before that I don't like being the third wheel. But then she said that I wouldn't be this time because Mark was joining too. What? Yes! Finally, something was happening that might bring us together in real life. I was super excited as I waited for him, but Mark never showed up. So once again, it was just the three of us. I was so upset. I hated Mark in that moment, and I decided I wouldn't respond to his letters ever again. A few days later, I was placing some of my books in my locker and preparing to go home for the day when I noticed a blue letter I had missed. I hesitated about opening it, but I couldn't stop myself. It said that he wanted to meet me in the girls' bathroom. I didn't even think why he would choose such a place. I just quickly shut my locker and raced there. Upon entering, I was surprised to see Mary, and I quickly told her that my secret admirer was going to meet me here and that she needed to go. I was still trying to explain it to her when she told me that she knew all about it. I was surprised, and I didn't know how she could have. She then went on to tell me that she was the secret admirer, and that she had been the one writing the blue letters. Of course, I thought she was joking, and I laughed and I told her that she could stop fooling around because he would be here any moment now. The joke wasn't funny when she brought out more letters with blue envelopes, and I had no choice but to believe her when she showed me her handwriting. I understood, but my heart still found it hard to believe. I mean, she was my brother's girlfriend, for goodness sake. Mary then told me that she loved me and she was only